Well, I don't agree there's been a vacuum of leadership. Only 4 years ago, you were praising the leadership of the government and said we have delivered 8.5% growth over a period of 5 years. Yes, there's been a certain lack of decisiveness. But that doesn't mean there's a vacuum of leadership. That's why I advocate that the next election should throw up a new generation of leaders. If young people can be top-class businessmen, top-class lawyers, doctors, accountants, why can't young persons, men and women in India, be top-class parliamentarians, top-class ministers? I think the time has come to hand over the leadership of the government to a younger generation. That, you will see, will bring a greater decisiveness and drive in the leadership of the government.
Okay,
yeah, I just want to say something that really from the minister's lips to God's ears, as we would say, because one of the things that worries me in America and worries me about India is that politics becomes so dirty, so noisy, and so brutal. And it's always been, we know, but there are differences of degree that become a difference in kind. That good people, people of talent, just look at it. Look at the Republican lineup we had in the last election. It was the Star Wars bar. I mean, it was. These are people you would never pay money to hear them speak about anything. Okay, and there's a reason for that, because so much of our talent, whether it's in the business or academic world or the social entrepreneur world, they look at politics now, and they look at the amount of money you have to raise. I was having breakfast with a senator recently, and he told me that another senator told him that he had just come to the Senate, that the thing you watch every quarter you have to report your cash on hand as a senator or a congressman. And he said one senator advised him, never let your cash on hand go below 10 million. Otherwise, someone will run against you. That's no longer about governance anymore. That's about something. And if you are a serious person and you're looking at that mountain to climb, I'd rather go to Silicon Valley.
All right, Sunil, the point that I was making about the vacuum of leadership, has that been a perception? When you talk to a lot of people, that's the sense they get, and that's why a lot of what's happening in India are forces coming in to fill that vacuum.
I've been a bit of contrarian on this one. I don't believe there's been a vacuum, but I think Mr. Chidambaram did mention sometimes you feel that the government is not decisive enough. And I think many a times people don't see that when they're decisive, they want to move things. You don't have a parliament session going. You don't have agreements with the opposition parties. I think the government is hemmed in today by a set of coalition partners which have their own very strong agendas. And I think we have to grant it. We have a parliamentary system which does not allow this government to run through legislations. But on the executive side, let's talk about telecommunications. We have decisively moved into a very firm ground. Auctions are happening. 100% FDI has been allowed. India has joined the club of rare developed nations where 100% of FDI is allowed in telecom. My own view is different. There has been a lot of decision making. It's just that, like we probably started by saying, we beat ourselves a lot and say we don't have leadership, we have a vacuum. My own belief is government can do a lot more, should have done a lot more, but are we saying that they have not done enough? I don't agree. My own view is they have done a lot of things given the constraints that they have operated in.
Nikesh, leadership?
Oh, I think this one I'm going to leave to my esteemed colleagues here who live in the country.
Yes. Okay, he's going to duck that one. Right. I am going to turn to the audience now and start taking some comments from here. All right, the gentleman here, can we get a mic to him?
My name is Sam White, co-founder of Promethean Power. Just wanted to follow up with what Nikesh said about when there's a need, innovation flows up. And particularly in rural India, when you have a lack of reliable power, there's a real need. And our Indian colleagues have developed an energy storage device that is eliminating the need for a diesel generator when storing things like milk, fruits and vegetables. And this is a technology that we will be taking back to the U.S. to apply, because there's not enough innovation in the U.S. when there's not a need like there is in India.
All right, so need can sometimes drive innovation. And that, I think, is a point that has been made here as well. All right, let me get another couple of questions from here. Anybody else with a hand? Okay, right here in the front row.
Thank you very much. Terry McGraw-Hill. Scott, I agree with your optimism in all that, and sometimes I wonder why, but, we're very, very excited about our operations in India and how well they're doing. Sunil, when we start talking about, where the growth comes from, the answer to every question we have and every policy that has to support it is growth. So where's it coming from? The large industrial base in India was where that growth was coming from. And now it has shifted to foreign direct investment coming in the services sector. And with supply chain management, you're opening up lots of different kinds of opportunities. The problem from a governance side, from the outside looking in, is it's not the national government anymore. That was very dominant on that one. State governments now are also getting very aggressive, and cities are getting very aggressive, and they're competing against each other. And so from the outside looking in, the question would be is, how does policy now get distributed more evenly when you have that kind of competition going forward? The last question is, Finance Minister, is when we start talking about growth, we start talking right up front about trade and investment. And trade has been a very difficult subject for India. It hasn't opened itself up as well. How does that have to change? And when you start talking about financing for growth and investment, you come right back to what you were talking about in terms of infrastructure. Why isn't there more a demand and, again, more unity coming back with state governments to make it happen?
All right. Do you want to take that first?
Well, I don't know why you say that we are not opening up on trade. If you have the EU FTA in mind, yes, that is stuck for reasons that are well known. But we have entered into FTAs. We've entered into comprehensive economic cooperation agreements or partnership agreements with a host of countries. Recently with ASEAN, we have updated the earlier agreement. We are opening up to trade. In fact, it is Indian industry which is complaining we're opening up too fast and reducing tariffs too fast. But the government has remained on course, and we are opening up to trade. And we are very supportive of FTAs. We are very supportive of exports, and we have opened up imports. So I think it may not be fair to say that we are not open to freer trade. There is a problem with the FTA with the European Union, but that's a matter which we have to discuss separately.
Okay, Sunil, you want to?
I think perhaps Terry was talking more on the multilateral piece of the WTO round. I think, Terry, India did finally come out well and strong and has given enough joy to the world in terms of putting the trade facilitation piece forward. That's gone through in the last round in Bali. And on the peace clause, yes, I mean, there were issues, and I believe both US and India sat down and sorted it out. From my perspective, it would have been very easy for a commerce minister to have no deal and come back victorious. That was a very easy part. What he's done is he's done the deal, trade facilitation has gone through, the peace clause has been accepted, people have moved forward on many areas, and yet he came back victorious. Mind you, we had elections coming up in the next 90, 120 days, and this was a tough call for India. So on the WTO piece, I think that's where Terry was coming from. And I know he, as the ICC chair, has been working very hard.
All right, let me just take a question which has come in online from Twitter, actually. Ian Bremer has this question. Turning to the question of governance, my thoughts, China grows because of government, India grows in spite of it.
That's a caricature of the situation. We've heard this said many times. I'm not for a moment questioning China's growth or what the government there has done to promote that growth. But China works in a very different system. 7 people have to take the decisions, and that's the decision which cannot be questioned by anyone. We work under a very different system. We have checks and balances. We have independent constitutional authorities. We have a civil society. We have courts which can strike down decision, as they have often done. We have public interest litigation. And we have street protests. So there's no need to compare. There's no point in comparing the Chinese system with the Indian system. Someone who said that should then add, I wish to have the Chinese system. But I'm sure she or he does not wish to add that line.
But probably not. But I just have to say you are going to hear the similar comparisons made. And again, coming back to 2014, because what Mr. Modi and the BJP are saying is, again, on the question of governance, they said governance, and they are saying, look, for example, what Mr. Modi will say, look what I've done in Gujarat, and why can't this be done now at the national level? And if I become Prime Minister, I will do this at the national level. That's pretty much what he's saying in speech.
I think if any Chief Minister can make that claim, it should be the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, which has, on every single parameter, done better than Gujarat. And I gave out this comparison in a speech that I delivered in Pune, I think. Maharashtra and Gujarat were born on the same day. And let's look at Maharashtra's record and Gujarat's record, and Maharashtra outpaces Gujarat. I can challenge anyone to a debate on that.
All right, but perhaps in a different forum. I'm not sure who's going to get into that debate out here. All right, right at the back there, please.
Thanks, Vikram. Rana Kapoor from Yes Bank in India. I've had the experience last 10 years of building a bank in India, over 28 states and 7 union territories. By the time I go back, there may be one more state and one more UT. But the fact of the matter is, the experience of building a bank has taught me 2 or 3 things. One, there are over 53 cities in our country which have a population of more than 1 million people. There are approximately, I'm rounding it off to the nearest zero, 530 cities which have a population of between 100,000 to 1 million people. When you add up the cities and the towns all over the country, there are approximately 5,900 towns and cities in the country. But when you go across, you find literally there is opportunity in adversity. There is opportunity to grow wherever you go. But the amazing thing is, when you sit in the center in New Delhi, fortunately I'm in Bombay, but when I come there, and I was talking to the finance minister last night, that actually it boils down to, in my judgment, 3 words. It's about confidence, which has been discussed today. It's about conviction, and most of all, effective communication.
Okay.
This is my, question, and maybe just a comment.
The communication part is something that you have been talking about, that perhaps a better job could be done of communication. Especially in this era, in this connected era, maybe the communication could be a lot better.
Well, our leaders could be less reticent, let's put it that way.
That's leaders could be less reticent. Okay, so we are going to see a lot more less reticence.
I hope.